Hello, Nick. How are you, sir?
Hi, Doug. I'm
You have a
great.
nice
How are
off
you,
season?
man? How are you?
I'm good, thank you. Before we get into basketball, how did your voter registration move go? And were you happy with the numbers and the NBA's apparently successful push to get the vote out in the United States?
Yeah, I mean, really, really good, Doug. I think the people at the voting with the expats and the websites and around the world, the activity on the websites and the registration tripled and doubled around the world, and just activity. Again, just we're just a small part of promoting and helping that, but at least it was some significance. I don't think we've still got the final numbers yet on actually how many more people voted, but we are in line and asking for those as soon as we can get them, and I'm sure it's going to be a nice bump up as the election was in general. But I think yeah, we're happy. I think we're happy. We tried hard and we spent a lot of time with it, and I think there was a positive result. So pretty happy with that. Thanks for asking about that.
No problem. Just a quick to start off the basketball. You got some changes in the front court. You're vastly different without Insurgent and Mark, but the rest of the guys are the rest of the guys. How do you envision you guys playing this year? And I know it's early and things have to shake out still.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I think that you're right. I mean, I think the core group of Kyle and Fred, um, OG and Pascal, Norman, and then there's some other guys that are kind of our core now too. You can include, parts of Pat if we can get him on the floor a little more. Pat McCall, that is, Terrence Davis, Matt Thomas, Chris Boucher, right? Are guys that are maybe not part of the guts of the core, but they're part of our larger, who we are and have been around and certainly understand our system and type of play. And then it's down to, Baines and filling in for two really good veteran big guys. Um, and we'll see. I think there's a sense I've seen enough of Bain in my times, both in the NBA and internationally, to know that he's a very good player, physicality wise, and toughness and IQ, and competitive. Right, he's done a lot in his career. And Len, I think, is somebody that, and he's got great size and he's got some athleticism. He should be able to help us protect the rim, and maybe needs an opportunity. So um, I think that's, kind of, those guys are out and those guys are in, and let's see if we can get them up to speed and get them on our wavelength as soon as possible.
Thanks, Nick. Good to see you again. Take care down there.
Yeah. Thanks. Hope you're good, man.
I am.
Hello, Nick. How are you?
Good, Mike. How are you?
Doing well. How was your smooth transition back to the hotel life?
Pretty smooth. Yeah, pretty smooth. It's you know, you gotta kind of rhythms change a little bit, get used to it, but and just another stop along the coaching journey for me. It's another place to live, and another city, and another thing going on. So we're
I want to
taking
go
it
back.
stride.
I want to
Huh?
go back to Baines for a second, if I could.
Okay.
So you lose obviously two big pieces, but I mean, when you're sitting there before Aaron signed on and before Len comes along, what's in your like? What's in your head? Like, we better get Baines, or like where are you at that point?
Well, I think that yeah. I mean, I think we have, you got plan A, B, C, D, E, and on what's going to happen, and he was certainly up at the top of the list. If Mark and Serge ended up elsewhere, he was certainly a priority. So yeah, I mean, I think there's a moment of we get him, but so I'm happy with that, how it turned out. I mean, listen, you guys know how much I love Mark and Serge, right? And how much they did for us. You can never replace going through what we went through with those guys. They were a joy to coach. They're great players. Yeah, I mean, listen, everybody knows that what we went through with them, and how great they were for the organization. And obviously we got the title and another great season out of them. And we're going to miss them. But this is where we are now. And we'll think fondly of them, and certainly remain in contact with those guys. But now we got new guys to coach, and we got to move forward.
All right. Thanks, Nick. I'm sure we'll do lots of this talking.
You're welcome, Mike. Hope you're well.
You too. Thanks.
Hey, Nick. Thanks for doing this, as always. You touched on that. I mean, your coaching journey, as we all know, has been circuitous. What was your impression when you discovered that home wasn't going to be home for you? And what kind of thoughts leapt into your mind about how to approach this challenge?
Yeah. Good question. Lots of those thoughts, Mike. So first of all, thanks. I hope you're well. Been a long time since I talked to you, so hope you're doing well.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, listen, when you're kind of entrenched in a spot, you guys not shy about telling you guys how much I love being in Toronto. It's our city and it's our team and our organization. So there's a lot of unsettling feelings about having to leave, to be honest. It's not easy, right? It's not easy to pick up and leave that behind. It feels strange. But it's just different. Everything new and different seems strange for a moment. I can only say this. I know I'd rather be in Toronto, but I'm not. And now I'm going to make the best of it here, and I'm going to not make any excuses, and I'm going to get to work, and we're going to expect to play at a super high level. And that's it. There's a lot of things surrounding what's happening, and we're going to do our best to focus in on just becoming the best basketball team we can become. And we do that by starting with accepting here's where we are, put a smile on our face, get out on the right side of the bed, positive attitude, and go to work, right? And that's how I kind of see it all from start to where I am now.
And have you, it's very early in the process, but have you kind of got down there and sniffed around and said, okay, this is going to be as I expected, better than I expected, or wow, there's great potential here in this opportunity? Like, or is it all just too new right now?
Well, it's freezing down here right now, so,
No,
it's not as I expected, right? I mean, you come in, you think, oh man, go out yesterday, it's 39 degrees Fahrenheit.
Wind chill's -10 here, bro. Can
it? So that's first thing not expected. Now, not really done anything, Michael. We're in the testing kind of phase. And they're still kind of organizing a lot of our practice facilities and things like that. So I haven't really got out to see much, but I always, when people are worried about that kind of stuff or show some anxiety, I always say, the Raptors we always do things first class, and we always do things well. I would imagine they're going to give us a good place to stay, a good place to practice, good place to lift weights, good place to meet, all those things that we need to be successful. I think it'll all just be just fine.
Appreciate it. Thanks, Nick.
Thanks. Hope you're well. Take care, man.
Thank you. You too.
Yep.
Nick, see ya. How you doing?
I'm great. Josh, how are you?
Good, thanks. Obviously, in the bubble, you guys were pretty restricted in terms of where you could go and what you could do. Outside of team activities in the arena now, where obviously you guys will have your guidelines in place, things are going to be a lot different for guys in Tampa and traveling around to other cities. For this to work, not only for the Raptors, but for the NBA, how important is it going to be for everybody, players, coaches, staff, to really buy in and be committed to following the protocol on their own time?
Well, critically important, Josh. I think that you're right. There is a sense of there's certainly more freedom than there was in the bubble, right? But we're certainly going to have to use very, very good judgment, to kind of keep this moving. I mean, I think the responsibility falls on each of us individually to make sure we're following all the protocols and doing. I mean, Man, I hope that everybody has, their own health and safety and the health and safety of their family, first and foremost, as kind of how they're moving around their day. And that's, that it is different though. You're asking a good question because you have to, um, you have to recognize that fact and talk about it some from my position anyway, right? Continual reminders, obviously our Alex McKechnie and his staff will be giving continual reminders and all that kind of stuff too, but it does place of maybe an extra layer of importance or priority that's different than a normal season, but we're certainly not in a normal season or normal time. So we're all going to have to be very vigilant on this aspect.
Have you spoken to anyone from Major League Baseball or the NFL, anybody that's sort of gone through this type of season and kind of picked their brain in terms of what this might be like?
I have not yet. I have talked to a couple of college coaches, university level football coaches about it. But I have not talked to baseball or football as of yet, but we'll see as we go here. I know that we're down here in Tampa Bay Buccaneers and the Rays and all that are here. We're probably have some discussions with them, the Lightning, all that as well. So we'll see.
Great. Thanks, Nick.
Thanks, Josh.
Hey, Coach. I know you mentioned some of the continuity with the key guys. With this compressed camp and the compressed offseason that there's been as well, how does that shift your thinking with some of the newer faces, particularly the 2 draft picks you guys are bringing in, and what the first part of the season might look like for them?
Oh, man. Good question, Blake. I think that, I'm always concerned with anybody new to the organization to get them up to speed defensively, first and foremost, right? So I would imagine there's going to be a little bit of extra practice time kind of woven into our regular practice time, as you guys have probably seen us do in the past with those, getting guys up to speed, just the nuances of the coverages, the terminology, the game plans, all those things. But I would also say that, it's a 3-game preseason window, and we got to see these guys to make some determination of their potential value to us this season. I think we know that we value them. Just how soon we can get them, in the loop. We probably need to evaluate them fairly early. If I'm making any sense there, I would imagine our new people will get a substantial amount of court time early on, just because, again, I think we know who Pat McCaw is, and we know Norman and Terrence and Matt, and we know a good chunk of these guys. It's the guys that we don't know that we need to see and get out there.
One more for you, if that's okay. I don't know that it's been officially announced, but it was reported that Chris Finch is joining you guys on the staff with Nate heading to Indiana. Can you confirm that, and what are you excited about to have him as part of your team?
Yeah, I mean, obviously I know him for a long time, right? We coached against each other. We coached with each other, Great Britain. Coached against each other in the D League again. So we've been really on similar paths. I think he's one of the best offensive minds in the NBA. So we're lucky to have him. I enjoy him from an overall perspective. I enjoy him from an overall basketball perspective as well. He's a hell of a coach.
Thanks, Nick. Appreciate it.
Yep.
Hey, Nick, it's good to see you.
Hi, Tim. How are you?
I'm good. And you're right. It is freezing here. I had to put on my seat warmer in the car last night. This isn't normal.
Tough times.
These are tough times for all of us. I wanted to ask you to expand on, I think it was the question that Michael Grange asked you, and I think you talked about it a little bit earlier as well. Your journey, you've been to some places where you probably weren't living in a 5-star hotel, and I know it's not ideal to practice in a ballroom and all the things that are awaiting the Raptors this season, at least for the first half. But what's the worst that you've seen? I guess. I mean, no, this isn't ideal, but I'm guessing you've had some rather interesting practice setups along the way?
Yeah. Man, that's a good question. It's a good question. You got me rattling through a lot of scenarios right now. Well, my first job in Derby, England, the club could only afford to hire the practice hall twice a week. So we practiced on Tuesdays and Friday nights, 7 p.m. Badminton was running right up to 7 o'clock, like literally it clicked 7 o'clock, and they were taking their last few. Then they would take the nets down and we'd come out onto the floor, and we had 7 to 9 twice a week in a sports hall in Derby, England called the Moorways Center. That was probably there've been some other there's been some other doozies in there, but that's probably been I always say, just get me to a practice floor and to the games, and we'll be happy. And we can only get to the practice floor twice a week there. So
There's no Tampa badminton club that I'm aware of, so I think you'll be okay. The fact that so many of the guys you have, we were in the bubble, it wasn't ideal. It didn't seem ideal at first, and you get there and you realize it's fine. It's good enough. The practice setups there were good enough. The fact that guys can envision now something non-traditional, does that make this a little bit easier? You don't have to sell them on the fact that as long as there's a hoop at either end, you guys will be fine.
Yeah, I mean, I think so. I think from that standpoint of like the ballroom setup for practice, guys like that, the accessibility of from a pure basketball kind of and training standpoint, that was well done. It was, the courts were great, the baskets were great, there was plenty of them, the weight rooms were right there set up. They were guys like those as well. The training room set up right there. So we'll have the similar feel there. So I think from that standpoint, it's good. And I also think, even if it's that you get across the street or walk 4 blocks to wherever you're staying, get you outside and a little fresh air makes it a little different. I don't know. There's a little bit more roaming around, obviously, which I think will be helpful, as long as we can stay safe. I think from a work standpoint, everything's gonna be great. Really do.
Good deal. It's good to see you, Nick. Thanks again.
Yeah, you too. Hope you're well, Tim. Thanks, man.
Hey, Nick. Hope you're well. It's great to see you.
Steven.
Kind of similar, just one more on Chris Finch here. I was just wondering, like you mentioned how he's one of the best offensive minds in basketball. Can you give us an example of like an anecdote of why you have such a high opinion of his kind of offensive mind, like what he does X's and O's wise?
I mean, just the teams that he coached as a head coach, he's one of those guys that when you sit down and watch them play, you see that they're organized and they're sharing the ball, they're cutting hard, they're executing at pace, they're efficient. Just those kind of things that make a good offense, Stephen. And he's done it he was with the Rockets and he was with Denver, kind of, and with New Orleans. He's had some really good years, kind of as an offensive coordinator. I've coached against him a lot too, and teams were always really hard to guard. Even as when I was teams he coached in the NBA are always really hard to guard. So that's about it, really. He's high level. The numbers usually back up where he's been.
And just one more for you. A big thing that guys do during the off season, is like kind of work on their game, and then obviously during this truncated off season, it make it a little more difficult, right? So I was just wondering, have you checked in on the guys just to see like what their off season programs were like, and if they're able to get the work in that they needed to get in to prepare for the season?
Yeah, I think really good question. I think, first of all, it's yes. I've seen everybody fairly recently. So that's good. And I think, you probably understand this too. I think that everybody was kind of on this pace, maybe assuming we were going to start in late January because that was kind of the rumors at the time. And then when the announcement came that it switched to late December, I think the pace and the speed and the length or whatever of the workouts, I think everything went up a few notches. So I think, and I kind of saw guys on both ends of those things too. So from what I've seen, pretty happy with the work guys have got in. I guess it remains to be seen here, and we'll see here in a week, a little less than a week, once we hit the court for real. But no, I think it's pretty good. And you probably can understand that the announcement switched up the kind of rhythm of how hard everybody was working.
Yeah, for sure. Thanks a lot, Coach.
Okay, Steve, I hope you're well, man. Take care. Yep.
Hey, Nick, good to see you.
Hey, Ryan.
Just two quick ones for you. DeAndre Bembry, I don't think you covered him. We're going to talk to him a little later. Just curious what you like about him and how you sort of see him fitting in. And then another one, just curious, I think a bunch of us are curious how you avoid Terrence's situation from being any kind of a distraction at all.
Yeah, well, Bembry's somebody I know that our front office and scouts have really liked for a long time, and now they had a chance to get him. There's a level of toughness and defense and playmaking, just kind of a high IQ guy. So I'm interested to see that. I'm not all that familiar with him. Obviously, we've played against him, and I know who he is, and I've watched a lot of tape. We'll just kind of see, once I get to fit in. See how he fits in and see if we can find a role for him and those kind of things. And the Terrence thing, I mean, obviously you guys know as well that that's, in court and has to go through the process. NBA and the Players Association also have a kind of a process and protocol that has to follow, and there's not much else I can say about that.
Okay, thanks.
Yep.